3 City FM. My name is Nanatufu Boateng, and we're coming to you live from our studios here at Sano, number 5, Ula Hansen Lane. I'm here with Sami Wiafe. Good morning, Sami. How are you doing?
Hi, good morning.
Very well. So far, the president has nominated 42 persons to take up ministerial roles in his government, and the vetting committee, that is the appointments committee of Parliament, has gone ahead to vet these nominees, more than 42 ministerial nominees. A good number of them have also been sworn in by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President, and so they have assumed office and of course hit the grounds running. We've heard comments by some of them as to what they intend to do, how they intend to achieve this, their approach and their strategies, and all of that. We are here to look at the vetting of these ministerial nominees, at the work of the Appointments Committee vis-a-vis their approval by Parliament, as well as parliamentary proceedings over the period. Sami, let me come to you briefly and pick your thoughts on the appointments and the vettings so far. Just before I came in studio, I was thinking about all the action that has happened in the latter part of the vettings, that we are almost losing sight that this vetting process actually started with the Finance Minister, Dr. Kessie Alatuforsen.
It started on a very good note,
yes,
and on a very promising note as well. But along the line, the introduction of certain nominees or certain nominees who appeared before the committee and their posturing and things they've done in the past more or less adulterated the very beautiful exercise that has started with Dr. Alatuforsen, the Energy Minister, John Jinapor
for energy, and then there was Eric Opoku for agric,
and then Dominic Ayine. That was a nice vetting. Relevant questions were asked, hard-hitting questions were asked. But then, along the line, when Sam George and Okujato Blakwa and then Emmanuel Kofi Amabua, appeared before the committee, things, changed a bit. The line of questions also changed a bit. Some of the things they've said in the past, dominated the questions and the discussions, that went on at the appointment committee. So that is where we started seeing the degeneration of the committee sitting to something else. And then on the 30th of January, on a Thursday, it was worse. It was worse when we saw members of Parliament flying chairs, as if what happened on January 6th, 2001 wasn't enough. We saw 2021, sorry. 2021. Wasn't enough. We saw a near repetition, not near, like a repetition itself, because the appointment committee is an extension of the whole Parliament. So we saw a repetition of what happened, some years back, happening at the appointment committee, which has kept, the committee on hold, leading to the formation of this ad hoc committee by Speaker Babin to look into the matter, and the suspension of 4 sitting members of Parliament. I think the first time I'm ever hearing that, sitting members of Parliament or members of Parliament have been suspended by the Speaker. And I'm sure as in the discussion go on, we'll delve into this particular matter, the committee and its work, which the committee begins work tomorrow, God willing, and they say there's going to be a public hearing. But the question I always want to ask is, will the committee hearing be going on whilst the appointment committee sitting be also ongoing, in the likely event that President Mahama brings the list of deputy ministers out? Will the appointment committee be having their sitting whilst the ad hoc committee also be having their sitting as well, which is also, or both committees will be public hearing committees? So we wait on as they say, time will tell to determine how this whole thing. But I've always had my own reservation about the setting of this committee, which I feel that
we'll be getting into that.
Yes, we'll be getting into that. On in all, the committee has done a fantastic. On a scale of 0 to 10, I give the committee 6.
Very well.
I give the committee 6.
At this point, a number of things are expected to happen. Whether or not the appointments committee will continue sitting upon the nomination of the 18 slots that are left for the president to do. Parliament itself is expected to hear the reports of the appointments committee on the nominees that have gone through the vetting process. Whether or not the minority will be part of this approval process, we are not sure. The ad hoc committee set up to investigate the brawl on the night of Thursday, January 30, has begun its work. It's also expected to begin public hearings on Wednesday. That's tomorrow. We are waiting to see how that is going to proceed vis-a-vis parliamentary proceedings, and of course, if the president goes ahead to make further nominations, whether the appointments committee will sit, and how members on the committee who will attend to the ad hoc committee upon their invitation, how all that is going to go. Well, the chairman of the appointment committee, Bernard Ahiafo, was on the point of view last night with Bernard Avle. He made quite some salient points. Let's start off with the formation of the committee and what work the committee is actually tasked to do. Let's hear what he had to say about this.
Why do you have to do so many in one day? What's the issue?
Well, if you have the opportunity to do so many in one day, why defer it to another day? You don't know what other days hold for you.
But so, don't you want to have time to consider the people? Because if you did, like, I think on Friday you did about 8 people.
Yes. We have time to consider them.
Wow.
Yes. Nobody has been prevented from asking questions.
What's the purpose of the vetting?
Well, the purpose of the vetting is to scrutinize and bring to light the competency, fitness, and other ways of the person to occupy the position, and to determine whether or not the person is constitutionally qualified to hold the position. Article 78 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana and 94 comes to play, because by Article 78, for you to become a Minister of State, you must qualify to be a Member of Parliament. And the qualification of a Member of Parliament is set out in Article 94.
Okay. So it's questioning the main need of determining this, because what you said, you can look at somebody's CV, you can ask people to come and talk about the person, and technically just say with.
Well, questioning.
Why do you use questions?
Questioning is not the only means, and the general public is hereby informed that we do not only base it on questioning. For instance, when the nominations are released from His Excellency the President, it will be referred to the committee. The first thing that the committee will do is to write to the NIB for security check. 2, do a publication in the newspaper of national circulation for requesting for a memoranda from the general public.
I see.
Based on the result of these 2, they will then proceed to do vetting. So by the time the nominee is before you to be vetted, you can, in a way, rate the person whether he's qualified and fit to occupy that particular position, not necessarily through questions that you'll be asking.
So if I understand you, it's possible to even disqualify a person before they appear if there's evidence that they don't qualify to be an MP, for example?
If you receive an information to the effect that the person is not qualified to be a Member of Parliament, and as such, is not qualified to be a Member of Parliament. I mean, there's a constitution, you can do away with the constitutional provision. So,
but I guess the questioning is also beyond that. I guess the questioning beyond the suitability on paper is to determine, I don't know, maybe the word is suitability in terms of whether they are fit for the role.
For instance, if Honorable Bernard Avle is supposed to be vetted by me, and there is a report that you've been involved in a fraud or an offense involving dishonesty and moral turpitude, which disqualify a person from becoming a Member of Parliament, then by that imperative, you are disqualified from becoming a Member of Parliament, and the consequential effect is that you are also disqualified from becoming a Minister of State.
But how do you determine that?
Without even going through the vetting process.
But how do you determine that?
That is why I'm saying that you write to the security agencies for them to do the background checking for you. They investigate.
Before I appear?
Before you appear. The investigation is conducted and the report is at hand.
So what if I dispute the report? So let's assume I appear before you and then they've written that maybe I defrauded somebody.
Well, there will be evidential basis, and Not that you defrauded somebody just as an allegation. You know, in law, all suspects are deemed to be innocent unless it is established in a competent forum against them.
Yeah.
So we will not just base it on an allegation, no matter how frivolous the allegation is, to proceed to disqualify you. No, there must be evidence to establish it, and we'll put those evidence before you and conclude that based on this, you are otherwise not qualified to be a member of parliament.
Where in the
as such, you cannot be a minister.
So when in the process does this happen? Does this, and this is a hypothetical case, does this happen when I appear before you?
No.
Or you would have told me before I come?
You would have been invited that this is the information we gathered. So if you are not qualified to hold that particular position based on the report that we have received, why are we going to proceed to vet you in the first place?
Chairman of the Appointments Committee, Bernard Ahiafo, speaking there on qualifications for an individual to be nominated to take up a ministerial position or even to qualify as a member of parliament, and giving reasons as to why the committee chose to vet a number of nominees on a particular day, explaining some of the issues there to Bernard Avle on the point of view. We will bring you what he has said on other matters, but let me say good morning to Marusanda Amadu, who's joined us in studio.
Good morning, Tufo. I like your beard.
I like your tie.
When I grow up, I want to have your type of beard. So
that's when you grow up.
Yeah, when I grow up.
Very well, very well. Yes, but the chairman of the committee has been speaking. I think he's been in the media this week, between yesterday and now. He's been speaking a lot.
You know,
general observations.
I think, was it Chino Achebe or Ola Rotimi that who said, when you see a frog in the afternoon, it's either chasing something or something is chasing. And I think a lot of things are chasing the chairman. So, of course, it's only fair that he comes out.
You think the chairman is under pressure?
A lot of pressure. And he's having both internal and external pressure. First of all, his party people are, a lot of them on social media are saying he's exhibiting weakness. A lot of them are saying that they are in majority, but he's behaving as if they are in minority. And I listened to interviews across where people were defending him. And the point is that the minority should always have their way. Osechi Mensah-Bonsu was one of the toughest MPs we've had. But when his party was in power, when you go for appointments committee, you don't see him do the things he was doing when NDC was in power. It's because he's on the side, so he has to do the defense. The same with Abansumana Kingsford Bagbin. So when you are in government, usually there's only so much you can do. You allow the minority to dirty themselves, which is what Afenyo does, which is what the committee is doing. So you notice that a lot of the NDC people, when they are told to speak, apart from saying congratulations, they say goodbye, and that's it. It is because of the nature of our system. And I find it very, very, very disturbing. Because we do not put the people to strict proof simply because they come from our stock. And Sami Wiafi, who has spent his last few weeks watching the American confirmation hearings, will tell you how Republicans who are in power are grilling their own nominees. And I expect that we should be seeing something similar in this nature. But we are not seeing that. So Ahiafo himself, he is a chairman. He's supposed to be the driver. He's supposed to guide the team. I think he's being bullied. Not because he's not knowledgeable. I mean, he's a lawyer. He's been a member of parliament since Dua Jaho left parliament. He became MP in 2013. And so he's really built himself. However, he hasn't had the experience of leading a committee. Even though he is a lawyer, he's knowledgeable, the experience bit, Afenyo beats him to it. Because Afenyo has been a leader for a while now. And has been active, engagements. Ahiafo is usually the reserve type. So I like that he has come out now to tell his story. Except that when these matters come up, and it's matters of law, it's usually divided. So you'd have various schools of thought. And that's why we have to go to the courts to settle these matters. And I'm surprised. Yesterday when I was interviewing Habib Idrisu on Eyewitness News, I asked him a comment that sounded as though I was asking him in jest. But I think it's a comment that they have to pick up. We build our democracy by testing our laws. Our laws have to be constantly tested. And I think that this particular issue has to be tested in the law court. Speaker Bagbin has done so many things in the past that have been challenged. I remember in the past when Doa Jaho said he was not going to swear an oath. Our own Samuel Mensa and Professor Kweku Asare, through lawyer upon representing them, went to court, and the court made a pronouncement that if the president is not around, the vice president is not around, the speaker must subscribe to the oath before he acts as president. Our law and democracy has been built and cemented. I think the same thing should happen now. Let the minority especially go to the court. It is true that the suspension is just for 2 weeks. And by the time they even file the papers, the 2 weeks may have elapsed. But Supreme Court sometimes, even if the matter is moot, they may decide to take an action and make a judgment or deliver a judgment. And the reason is that they want to prevent a repetition, a repetition of that in the future. And I think that it is something we should see. Let's have some finality to this. What should happen? How much power does the speaker have? You see, Speaker Bagbin has grown through the ranks. I mean, he knows Parliament more than any of them in there. Now, again, even in terms of age, he's older than a lot of them. I mean, he and E.T. Mensah and Clef
something he likes to remind them of.
And it is a true. But how much power can he wield? Especially when he's not an elected member. You know, so how much power does he wield, and can he wield? Can he expel people in the manner that he did last year? The Supreme Court has said, no, you cannot expel people simply because they want to run as independent. He thought he could have, and he did, and then that power has been clipped. I think we should also see a Supreme Court pronouncement now on whether he has the power to do what he did. Because a lot of the legal minds are saying he has a power to sanction, but not to the extent. I interviewed Alhaji Yunus Afuseni yesterday, smart lawyer, former member of Parliament. He said he agreed that Speaker Bagbin should suspend or punish people, but the 12 days he believes was wrong. So he said that the Speaker erred on making it 12 days, but he was justified if it was 4 days.
14.
It was 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay, so that's 14 days.
Yeah.
So he said that it was justified if it is, the 4 days would have been justified, but the 14 days is not justified. I think we should see the law being tested, because at the end of the day, they may decide to go back to the Parliament, they may debate it, and usually it's the majority side that would win. But that necessarily may not become the law as we want to see it to be. So I think this matter should be tested. Honorable Ahiafo has to maybe exert his authority more. On the last day before the minority walked out, we noticed that he started exerting some level of authority. But the fear too is that if he exerts too much of his authority, he may be deemed a dictator or an autocratic guy. He's not allowing the minority to function, which
accusations have been made at him already.
So it becomes a problem. It's a very slippery slope for him, trying to satisfy his party base, which feels that, even though we are in power, we are not being treated like we are in power. And then satisfying the generality of the people. The moment you assume the role of deputy speaker, you are no more NDC, strictly speaking. If you go to the chamber, the well of Parliament, the sitting arrangement, they have the majority on the right and the minority on the left of the speaker. Based on what I know in the past, I don't know what the sitting arrangement now is. There is a desk facing the speaker directly, which has 2 people sitting on it. It used to be the 2 deputy speakers sitting there. It tells you that they are neither east or west, they look forward. So they are in the middle there. Even though they are partisan to the extent that they were elected on a political party ticket, they represent a party in, in Parliament. I think the moment they are elected to become a speaker or deputy speaker, their role will change to being a statesman. So Ahiafo becomes a statesman. And that is why it will be difficult for him to toe a very partisan NDC line. And I think a lot of the attacks on him are unfair. Some may be justified by the grassroots people who are coming after him. So that will be my comment on Ahiafo.
Very well. Ahiafo himself has been speaking on the Speaker's decision to suspend the 4. Yesterday we spoke with the former Chair of the Appointments Committee, Joseph Osei-Wusu-Joe-Wise, and he felt that the Speaker rushed in making that decision. He thought it was wise to refer the matter to the Privileges Committee, which committee he had directed to be constituted, but questioned why the rush to suspend the 4 MPs. But Ahiafo, who is current chair of the committee, thinks the Speaker's decision was in the right direction. He sought to explain that that when the Speaker sits, and of course when the appointment committee sits, it is an extension of Parliament, which appears to have the powers of the High Court, and so the Speaker sits as a judge.
So the law is on contempt is either in the face of the court or not in the face of the court, and that's where the debate comes on whether or not the contemptuous acts by the MPs, which is what we describe loosely as the hooliganism, whether or not it happened in the presence of the speaker. So if you go to the courts, if you're in the courtroom and your phone is ringing, you are receiving a call, you are disturbing the judge, he can send you into the small holding room they have there and then by saying that he has found you guilty of contempt. That means that the offense happened in the presence or in the face of the court. That is one aspect. The other part where you can be in contempt of court, where you have not necessarily done it in the presence, is where an order is given. So, for instance, the Supreme Court gave the order that allowed the 4 MPs who you suspended, the ones who were expelled for going independent, allow them to come back in the chamber. If Speaker Bagman had refused to let them in, he would have been in contempt of court, but not in the face of the court. So I think that's the issue. The question now is the Committee on Appointments. It is true that the committee sits in the presence of Parliament. It sits in the committee rooms 1 and 2. But is that strictly speaking in the face of the Speaker and of Parliament or not? Mind you, all committees are committees of the Speaker. That's what they call them. All committees are committees of the Speaker. So if his committee members do something, can he say, strictly speaking, that they did it in his presence or not in his presence? And I think that is the lacuna that you're raising there. So that's, again, for the lawyers who are doing the interpretation and arguing over it, that is whether he can take an action on something that happened behind his back, or whether or not that thing was really and truly behind his back, or it was really in front of him. That's the issues.
The Speaker, in giving the directives he gave, spoke some Latin somewhere. That's what I want to bring up, and then we'll see if you can help us with that. He says, let there be no doubt, Parliament's credibility has been seriously undermined, and urgent punitive action has to be taken. Since this was done, contemptus parliamenti in facie parliamenti.
So, in facie parliamentary, in the face of Parliament.
In the face of Parliament.
In the face of Parliament. So, in facie curia. So, that essentially is what he was trying to say, that it happened in the face of Parliament. But there are people who say, no, the committee is sitting outside. When Parliament is on vacation, committees sit. When they are on recess, committees sit. Does it mean it has happened in the face of Parliament? If what happened on January 6th, that one happened in the chamber.
In the chamber.
So for the lay mind, we would say that happened inside Parliament, in the chamber. We all saw it happening there. But this one happened a block away. Is it strictly speaking in the face of Parliament, in the face of the Speaker? Because you see, there are a number of times that the Speaker has been walking MPs out. I think last year he walked out someone who was even a minister or something, an MPP MP. I've forgotten what exactly the MP did. But he told him to walk out. And told him.
Is it a free?
The former Minister for Environment. He was MP for Security at the time.
The one who said that it does not lie in your mouth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Speaker said, walk out. There and then, the Speaker even said to the Marshal, go and drag him out.
I remember in the latter days of the 8th Parliament, there was a walkout by the minority. But then the Parliament was sitting at the AICC, and the minority was going to do a press conference at one end. He directed the marshals to walk them out.
So that one he can do because it's happening in his face or in his presence. But this one, did it happen in his face, or we are using face here to mean, because you see, there's also another issue of quorum and whether MPs are in Parliament or not. There's a view that the moment you enter through the main gates of Parliament, you are inside Parliament, even if you are not in the chamber. Others say if you are in Job 600, where their offices are, you are in Parliament. And when it comes to the issue of division, they have to ring the bell. And I remember he made a pronouncement on how that is interpreted. You should be able to hear the bell wherever you are. And if you can hear the bell, then it's assumed that you are in Parliament. Now, when you're in Job 600, sometimes they hear the bell. When you're in the cafeteria, you hear the bell. So is being in the cafeteria in the face of Parliament, for instance? So if MPs are sitting there and they engage in a fight, would you say that was in the face of the Speaker or in the face of Parliament? I think it's a complex issue, and that's why I think for me, we should get the wise lords and ladies to sit and panel and give us a direction
some clarity
on
this matter. And I think that's basically the explanation that the chairman of the appointments committee, Bernard Ahiafo, is also given in defense of the speaker's decision that the two instances where, if you reduce this matter to a court sitting, the incident happening inside the court or outside the court, where inside the court you may not necessarily need evidence to pronounce judgment on it as a judge. Maybe we should listen to him, and then we can understand where he's coming from, so we can continue the conversation. Bernard Ahiafo once again speaking with Bernard Avle on the point of view regarding the decision of the Speaker Alban Bagbin to suspend the 4 MPs.
Do you take responsibility for what happened because you are the chair of the committee, and this happened under your watch, and therefore this is your committee?
Well, as a leader, sometimes you take responsibility of things that you are not the cause. That is a hallmark of a leadership. And from our culture, to render an apology as a leader on behalf of unfortunate incident on part of some of the people that you lead is not anything difficult for us. So it takes a head of family to even apologize on behalf of a wrongdoing on part of a family member for which he is nowhere near the incidents.
So who do you blame for happening on Thursday?
I'm not to apportion blame after the committee has concluded its investigation. Whoever should take the blame responsibility. I believe Ghanaians will get.
Is it fair for the chair of the committee to appear before, you are the first deputy speaker of parliament, to appear before a committee made up of people, some of whom you are senior to in parliament?
Well, it doesn't matter. Giving evidence before a committee is what you've seen, what you know of. That is what you give evidence on. So it doesn't matter whether you are a senior to the person or a junior to the person. When the need arose, you appear before them. And
some people think the speaker's action was either premature in terms of the suspension of these 4, or at least unlawful.
See, people are not getting it right. As a private legal practitioner, if I reduce it into a courtroom practice, we have 2 types of those incidents. The one that happened outside of the court, where you need to lead evidence to establish it. But the one within the court, you need no evidence to take decision as a judge. That is why we have contempt ex facial query and contempt in facial query if it were to be in court. But this is a contempt in facial parliamentary.
So was the speaker acting as a judge in this matter?
Yes, in matters of this nature, where you have to take a decision in one way or the other, you are playing the role of a judge.
Could it not be your decision, because this was happening under you? I thought you have the power as chair of the committee.
I have the opportunity
in the middle of the melee to sanction people.
I have the opportunity to explain it, that the Speaker of Parliament is the chair. So if Parliament is reduced to a committee level, and you happen to be acting as the chair of the committee, you are acting instead of the speaker. So whatever decision that you can take in that particular capacity, speaker can equally take those decisions.
But so my point is that if you are taking those decisions, if you had made a pronouncement or said, for example, that the marshal should dismiss some of the people who were causing let me ask the question. Yes. Causing the initial confusion, it may not have gotten to the speaker if you had taken action to say, look, we are coming to vet the 6th person, the minority leader is not cooperating, some of his people are putting the seats on the table. You could have taken an action to say, marshal, drive them out, but you didn't do that.
Well, if you recall, I shouted and I called marshal, and I turned around. I didn't see the marshal around. So there was nothing I could do at that particular point but to allow whatever happening should happen. We close the proceedings for that day. And Speaker, having seen or that has happened, the following day has taken a decision that this is what is going to happen. So there can be a double decision in that regard.
The Speaker's statements on 29 January on the floor took issue with the committee your committee. He was not happy with the way rules were not being followed and generally the conduct of the committee. Is it fair to say the Speaker was unhappy with you?
That very day, I would say no.
Very well. Bernard Ahiafo there, he's the chairman of the appointments committee, explaining why he thinks the Speaker was right in suspending the 4 members of Parliament. And then also his position on what happened on the night of Thursday, January 30, the chaos that characterized the vetting proceedings. Sami, you have been on the side that resist or rejects the Speaker's decision. With all this explanation that has come since, you still stand by this?
I still stand by this, and I feel the Speaker rushed in taking this decision by suspending these 4 members of Parliament for the next 14 days because he needed to satisfy the public perception. He needed to satisfy the public pressure that had come in the face of everything that was happening in Parliament, having on the back of what happened in 2021. And so he needed to take an action. Remember, it was the night that he was going to be elected as Speaker that such an incident happened. And so he being Speaker again, for this to happen at the appointment committee, there was the need to take an action. And he was moved by emotions and public pressure with the greatest of respect to take this particular decision that he took on the 30th, of January. Secondly, the Speaker is supposed to, or Parliament is supposed to set up or have the Privileges Committee which is supposed to look into this matter. Already, there's a pending issue with the Speaker having to do with the Petroleum Commission lady, Hardcastle. Yes. You remember the Speaker said he was going to look into it and report to us, which I feel was the job of the Privileges Committee. The committee is yet to be set up. And then this particular incident also happens on the 30th of January. In the same way that the Speaker was able to hurriedly set up the appointment committee to vet these nominees from the President, it was also proper and wise that the Mr. Speaker will also immediately set up the Privileges Committee to look into these 2 incidents that has happened within the premises of Parliament. They had a castle lady who owned against Anodompe, and then this confusion at the appointment committee. So now the Speaker puts this ad hoc committee that he has set up in a very difficult position because the Speaker has taken a decision on the 4. The committee, even though it's going to be an independent committee, may not come up with a verdict that may go against what the Speaker had already ruled. Because one, as the Speaker of the House, even though it's an independent committee, we should all face it, they may not want to do anything that will put the name of the Speaker in Parliament in public eye for ridicule. Hold on, let me make my point. Let me make my point. Sada, let me make my point, please. You come in.
You land briefly and then let's get his thoughts on it.
Now the Speaker has already pronounced a verdict on the 4 people. What contrary verdict would the committee come out with? Are they going to endorse what the Speaker has already said about the 4, which I believe that is going to happen?
And what if by which time this suspension period has elapsed?
So what happened? You apologize to them?
And expunge it from the records that they have ever been on suspension for 14 days.
It's already in the public domain. We all know that the 4 people have gone on suspension.
But not on record.
Are you going to change the people's perception?
In 20 years' time,
are you going to change the people's perception?
No, in 20
years. Incident that happened in 2009. It's still fresh in the minds of people.
So you have the view
how
that
many years ago?
The
damage would have been caused already.
You're referring to the incident between Samson Ahi and Ralph Tanko?
That's how many years. The Slappy and the Slapper. Yes.
And you remember this?
I remember.
There's memory.
Yes.
But at the time, the Speaker said he didn't see it. So
yes.
It was not invasive parliamentary.
It was not captured.
So no action was taken.
And it was not captured by the records of Parliament. But we still remember. It's still in our memory. Will it be taken out of our memory? No. It will be there forever.
It will not be on the record. So the Hansard will not capture it.
That.
And so therefore, it cannot be part of our history. In 100 years, when our
it will not be part of our history in the record, but it will be part of the history in our heads.
Yeah,
you still remember it, right? How many years ago?
We will die and it will go.
And then when we see them working as our employee suspending, you've already caused the damage to the person. You should have waited for the privileged committee to look into this matter.
And the council may vote against him because of that.
And even in Wage they started making noise about
3 weeks. 3 weeks per
3 weeks per parliament. You are suspended.
They say form one boy, inform 3 students, maybe you join them.
And I felt with the greater of respect, Mr. Speaker rushed in taking the decision. Thirdly, I feel the minority must and should take this matter to court, even though Sanda would disagree and others would disagree, because there should be a precedent.
I said they should go to court.
No, Sanda actually
agrees that they go to court.
I said that they should go so that
I feel they should go to court. First of all, one, to stop a future speaker from abusing such a process. Secondly,
no, you can't say from abusing. You don't know that he has abused now, so you can say from a possibility of abusing.
This is my own words. I'm not referring to.
Yeah, but that means you're implying that the current speaker has abused
what it is now.
From such an incident happening in future.
Good one.
Thank you for the correction.
I have to guide you. I'm guiding you.
Well, I mean, going to court for me, I think it's a long process.
No, it's not a long
necessarily
process because I'm sure to Batin. Remember when there was an issue in Parliament whether a sitting speaker who is an MP cannot vote and the rest.
Yes.
The matter was sent to court. The Supreme Court pronounced on it. Now, even if you're
a presiding deputy speaker.
Yes. Now they can vote. They have the power to vote now because the Supreme Court pronounced on it. On this matter of the suspension, the sacking of the 4 MPs who decided to say the Supreme Court also made a pronouncement on it. So I feel the Supreme Court must also make a pronouncement so that in future, if any speaker wants to take such an action, he is guided by an already existing ruling by the Supreme Court on this particular matter, which will avoid any chaos that may happen in future. I feel the minority should take this matter to court to set a precedent that such incident should not happen. And the privilege committee must be set up immediately to listen to these members of parliament and give a ruling on it. Remember, the vetting is not done. We have deputy ministers to go. We may see a repetition of such an incident when the nominees for deputy ministers come before the appointment committee. My fourth point.
It's in the absence of the privileges committee that this special committee, this ad hoc committee chaired by Emmanuel Bejra has been set.
But with the greater respect, what stopped Mr. Speaker for immediately setting up the privilege committee?
Because he is actually part of the selection committee.
He's the chairman of the committee on selections.
Yes,
but it's a tall order. You see, setting up committees is a tall order.
Are you able to set the appointment committee ad hoc?
Only 2. They only set 2 committees.
Appointment committee.
They set up the committee on selections, which is a committee that selects every other committee.
The business committee was
the
also
business committee, and then the appointments committee. Because those are crucial at the time.
But the privilege committee is not.
No, at the time
when they are crucial matters
at the time,
like this.
they didn't think that the MP for Nsawama Dwejire and the Hardcastle would be having
you should think
a verbal intercourse.
You should think for the future. You should know that such incidents may happen.
What about the committee on transport? It's necessary.
It's also crucial.
What about the committee on education? What about the committee on health?
I felt.
How old is this parliament? Do you know?
I know, it's like 3 weeks. February 7th makes it the month.
Yeah.
February 7th makes it the month. But then if we're able to set our appointment committee and business, you can't set up privileges when there's a matter pending before the committee.
In fact, Parliament can set standing committees and ad hoc committees. This is an ad hoc committee.
Before you come, my fourth point.
In fact, when the
cash for seats matter came up, they could have used the privileges committee because it was an allegation against Parliament. But they didn't. They made my friend from Esikado Ketan chair that 5-member committee to investigate whether or not Boache Jakun came to give money to the to give the money to the people before they vetted. So I think ad hoc committees are always said when they finish, they dissolve them. I don't think there's a problem with this particular. And they are starting work tomorrow.
They've actually started work since yesterday. It's just the public hearings that will begin tomorrow.
They started receiving pen drives and floppy disks.
Floppy disks. They say it's they are receiving it via multimedia
platforms.
My fourth point.
Fifth, that's fifth.
No, it's fourth.
Okay. Now you're acting as the chairman. Now you're behaving like
Please overrule me.
Thank you. Assuming Mr. President brings out the list of deputy ministerial nominees and the appointed committee is supposed to vet them, and this ad hoc committee is sitting, would the appointed committee still be sitting?
Mind you, 3 members or 2 members of the appointment committee have been suspended by the speaker.
Yes.
3.
It's 3.
And
if I 4, all of them are members of the committee.
All of them. The whips are constant.
Yes.
3 whips.
All of them are members of the committee.
I don't think Tampuli is.
No, so Tampuli is a common floor member.
Yeah, it's a common floor, a friend of the committee.
Jerry Ahmed,
Anodompre, and then Roxy Dafiameko.
You know, and they have been suspended.
Yes.
So what happens if nominations come out and same nominations refer to the committee?
Would their deputies be allowed to sit in place, or the standing orders are clear? Chief whip, no deputy. So would the committee still sit? Okay. Mr. Hiafo told us yesterday that he's supposed to appear before the committee. You know, that will be set up by Mr. Speaker. In the event that he is appearing before the committee, will appointment committee also be seated? So it's a bit complex. It's a complex issue, and I think we should bring.
In Hiafo's absence, Ricketts has been chaired.
Ricketts can do it. Great enough. But then the key members who are stated in the standing orders of Parliament are not, or are suspended and are to appear before the committee. Will the appointment committee still sit while this same public, the ad hoc committee is also sitting? I'm sure we need clarity on this matter, whether the appointment committee's work will be on hold till the 10 days.
But you are calling for the privileges committee. If the privileges committee had been set and
then the appointment committee should also be on hold.
But the appointment committee chair, by default and by the standing orders of Parliament, will also be chair of the privileges committee.
You see? The more reason why I feel appointment committee should be on hold till investigation in this matter is done before vetting of the deputy ministers should commence or should come in.
I disagree.
But that was the position of the minority in interpreting the directive of the speaker, saying that if the speaker has directed for reconstitution of the appointments committee, then immediately the work of the committee ceases.
Okay, so you see, there's something they call quorum in these committees when they do their work. The committee is 11 members, right? 6 from the NDC side and then 5 from the NPP side. When they sit, they need quorum to be able to do business. And the quorum for doing business, we are told, is 4. So just 4 of them can start work. And then to take a decision, there have to be 6 of them. Now, the fact that the committee is supposed to be set up, including all the whips that have been mentioned, the committee has already been set up. These whips are unavoidably absent by their suspension. Does it then mean that the committee should not work? If the speaker is not available, the House of Parliament sits, the deputy sits. If the first deputy is not available and the speaker himself is not available, the House still sits with the second. If the second is not available, the House elects one of their own to sit there as a speaker. And that's what Katie Hammond did last year. So we cannot say that because
he
also did at a point.
Yes, at a point.
I'm saying that the fact that 4 MPs out of 6 have been suspended does not mean the committee should stop working. What if we're thinking that 4 is a big number? What if it was 5? And I'm using 5 because the minority side has 5 representation. And in parliaments, walkouts are normal. Imagine if Afenyomakin decided that for me and my members here, we will not join this vetting of ABCD. We are walking out. Does it then mean that the committee cannot work? Because they have walked out. There are 5 of them. They've left. Should we say that because the standing orders insist that there must be a minority leader, a minority whip, and deputy, because they are not around, we cannot continue? And I think that's why I therefore decided that no, let's continue and do our vetting. We have seen committees in the past do vettings which are one-sided. It is not healthy for our democracy, as in it does not bring out the best out of the nominees, but it is normal and allowed.
And very legal.
And to the extent that it is allowed under the law, what Ahiyafo and his people did the last time, that marathon the vetting they did, where they did vet 1, get 3 for free, it may come across as shambolic for those who wanted some thoroughness. But it does not become an illegality and it is not unlawful. So let's have that understanding clear that, for me, the fact that Anodompre and Agboja and Dafiameko and Jerry Ahmed Shaib are not in the committee. I don't think the committee should have its hands restrained. Your question about whether the committee that has just been appointed should be sitting while this one is sitting, I think the person who should be worried about this is media houses that want to broadcast both. It shouldn't be a problem for Parliament. We've had James Aveji's committee, the one that Public Accounts Committee will be sitting while Appointments Committee is sitting, while Parliament itself is sitting.
Are ongoing.
And while this committee, the Appointments Committee, has been sitting the past 1 week or so, Parliament itself has been sitting, and we as a media house, is a control room here that has always been, the editors have to decide which one should we pick. I remember there was a vetting happening, but we switched and went somewhere.
We went to a swearing in.
Good. I remember there was vetting happening 2 days ago of Samuel Kujetwa Blackwell, one of the most looked for, or one of the vettings that people look forward to the most. We cut into that broadcast to announce the suspension in the chamber. So it tells you that after that one is a news angling and priority issues. I don't think there's a problem at all, because
with the committees sitting simultaneously
at the same time, because there are times that Ahiafo gets up, leaves the committee room, goes to Parliament to go and table a motion, and come back. There are times Afenyo Makin will leave and go and do that and come back, and luckily it is just one wall away. So I don't really think we should make a big deal out of that. However, there's a principle in law that says that where the law has stated that something must be done in a certain way, it is only through that way that the thing must be done. If you do it in any other way, it becomes a problem. So, for instance, we know how to wear a necktie. There are several ways. Some people will tie the knot and hang it on their neck. Some will put it around their neck, and those of us who don't know how to do it quarter, it's also different. If the law says, that henceforth, all sons of men, when you're going to wear a tie, you must put it around your neck and knot it. That is how it must be done. If you do it in any other way, it becomes wrong. And that is where Speaker Bagbin stands accused, that there's a procedure, there's a rule that he has to go by, and that he has failed to go by that procedure and that rule. And to the extent that he has failed to go by that procedure and that rule, it's a nullity. In fact, someone who used to chair a very important committee in Parliament, the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, he was MP for Offenso, Ben Abdallah Banda. He just sent me a message that I wanted to share with our viewers. He said, I don't think there is ambiguity about the standing orders that warrant any Supreme Court interpretation. I disagree with those who say there is ambiguity. Order 34 is different from 129. Whether in the presence of Speaker or not, there is a procedure to follow in the standing orders. And he's essentially saying that there's a procedure that has to be followed. The Speaker should have followed that. And that what he did was a wrong misunderstanding or wrong application of the law. Now, that is something that, again, I re-emphasize, and Sami has already said that.
And that's something that Joe Wise also emphasized, that there's a punishment regime which should be procedural. And so that's, I mean, is his explanation for saying that the Speaker perhaps rushed into suspending the 4 MPs.
You noticed yesterday when you and Bernard were interviewing Joe Wise, and you asked him something about the work of the committee now that the other people are not around. He didn't commit himself by saying they are doing the wrong thing. So I do not think the committee's work continuing is wrong. The only thing that becomes problematic is the Speaker's announcement. Has the Speaker suspended the committee? No. So if he has not suspended the committee, he said he will reconstitute the committee.
What does that mean? To reconstitute the committee?
Does it mean that
dissolving and setting up and bringing out new people?
Does it mean that the committee as it stands now has been dissolved, so there's a need to reconstitute? Or does reconstitution mean adding 4 people? Or does reconstitution mean let's change the rule to say that minority leader shall not be a ranking member on the committee? Or does reconstituting mean, because I think it has to do with even the standing orders and all of that. So does it then mean that henceforth even the first deputy speaker should not be the one to chair it? These are all rules, and they can come up and they are masters of their own rules, and they can decide that we want to suspend these standing orders and create a new one and say that henceforth it should be a common floor member who chairs this. I think we can't wait to hear from the Speaker. And yesterday they did not sit.
No.
Typically they don't sit on Mondays. Today is Tuesday. We want to see the finality that he'll be giving to us, because he has to give guidance. So he's not giving guidance only to his committee members who are currently confused, MPs who are lost, but the public who are also still not sure. But there's a point that has to be made. That what Speaker Bagbin did is very popular among the population. Even though there's a view that how do you test that? But his punishment was celebrated. You saw the group of CSOs that issued a statement yesterday. There are plenty. CDD,
I think about 15 of them.
All of them saying that they were happy that the Speaker did what he did, because it was a blot on our democracy and on our image. What happened on January 6, 2021, and the fact that it's not been punished and not even been investigated is a big problem enough. Look at what they did in the United States. The same night that we were sending soldiers into our chamber, Donald Trump was ordering people on their parliament. The people who went there have been tried and have been sentenced. He has come now to grant them pardon. We haven't done anything, and I don't think it's proper. So I think it's good that we saw what we saw. Because how can you explain to your child that what was happening on the TV, it makes sense, that people will be fighting? I think there
are those who argue that the Speaker denied these 4 MPs a fair hearing.
Of course.
You see?
That has always been my argument. So the reason why you pronounced a judgment on now that you set up the committee, what do you expect these 4 accused people to come and say before the committee? What are they now going to prove their innocence when you've already taken a judgment on the matter? That has always been my point. That I thought that they were not given a fair hearing, because if you want to pronounce such a huge announcement on them, give them a fair hearing. Were they given a fair hearing? We do not know. And none of these affected individuals have come out publicly to come and say that the Speaker asked them for a hearing or anybody asked them of hearing. We had a minority member speak on this matter. We don't had any of them come to tell us that they were given a fair hearing or they were called into the Speaker's office and asked what really transpired. What we've told that it was just a video evidence, and through the video evidence, the pronouncements were made. But aside the video evidence, were they the only 4 people who were engaged in the act? We saw other individuals, we saw other people.
But for the other individuals, the reason why this committee has been set
to rope all of them in,
to identify all members
and suspend, and later you suspend them too.
There's more. I mean, the video you are still watching. Maybe they just reached 7 minutes.
To the extent that we just heard yesterday that somebody went
under the table to do something.
And for the records, the MP who has been accused of having his thing done has come out to say he did not happen.
We understand he was shouting.
Good morning, Honorable Bied Zedane. Good morning, Honorable Bied Zedane.
So that he taught us how to pronounce.
Yeah, he schooled us on us. And I'm saying good morning to him for a reason. Because of what the 2 of you are doing.
But you see, the Constitution guarantees this right to a fair hearing. I mean, this is just a law of natural justice.
Yeah.
I think this is Article 19(1).
Yeah, fair hearing.
Fair hearing. And so, would you agree with those who argue that indeed the Speaker jumped the gun to suspend the 4 without, giving them this right to a fair hearing?
Okay. So the people who interpret our laws, not interpret, the people who enforce our laws are the courts. They are the ones who would say that A, B, C, D ought to be done this way or that way. Now, when you go to court, like I said earlier, and there's a trial happening, and then you decide to bring loudspeaker, come and start playing music in the courtroom, that's contempt. The judge will not hear you. You will just say that you are on contempt of court.
The court.
In fact, even if you are a witness in a case and you are doing something, the judge says, don't do that. First warning, you didn't listen. Second one, don't listen. The third one, he'll just say that he's going to lock you. Now, do we have fair hearing in that? What I refer to the Secretary, also member of Parliament. The Speaker sent him out of the chamber. Was he heard? He wasn't heard.
No.
The Speaker just said go.
But is that a practice? Is that what it's supposed to be?
That's a rule.
That's supposed to be.
That has
without fair hearing. Somebody stands accused of something.
If you go to
it's
court,
just right and proper that you give the person.
So if you go to court and you start shouting or you strip yourself naked walking in front of the judge and the judge says stop, I don't like this and you're doing it, and the judge says, would you say you've been heard?
No.
Exactly. So if it's been happening in the courts and it's been in practice and in precedent been happening in Parliament, I think that initial action you can take, and that's why the law says take it for 4 days. So send the person away for 4 days and then come and do whatever you have to do next. But Speaker Bagby decides to make it for 14 days. Where he got the other 10 days from, we don't know. So maybe we want to wait and hear how he's going to explain this. Because I think everybody wants to know, how did you come by 14 days when they say do for
the 14 days, we need to know how he came by it, because ordinarily the House will sit Tuesday to Friday. So that is 4 days in a week. So if he says 2 weeks, that should give us 8 days.
So he didn't say 2 weeks of parliamentary sitting days. He just said 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So I think 2 weeks would just mean the traditional sense of
which would include weekends.
Yes, I think so. Because unless he has said, so you see, when it comes to sending an MP away for being absent without permission, the language is 15 sitting days. So if you absent yourself for 15 sitting days,
there's clarity on that.
So if you stay away for 1 month and during that 1 month, Parliament sat only for 1 day, you've been absent for only one day. So, but in this one, he didn't say that he's suspending them for 14 working days, sitting days, or 14 parliamentary weeks. He simply said 14 days or 2 weeks. He actually said 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So if he said 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks should be interpreted to mean 2 weeks. And so we just wait to see. They themselves have not spoken, but their leaders are speaking for them. What I find strange, though, is that while the MPP disagrees with the suspension, they are also relying on the suspension to make a case before the committee. On the one hand, the MPP says the suspension was wrong. It was unlawful. The speaker acted in excess of his authority and all of those things. And now we are even telling them that please go to court so that we can have that pronouncement done.
Sorry, before we go into the minorities' position on this, I just want us to be clear on the duration.
The language that
the language
speaker
there.
used.
It says suspended from the sittings of Parliament for 2 weeks from today. I mean, from the day he made the announcement.
So suspended from the sittings
of Parliament for 2 weeks.
So the days Parliament will sit.
So it means two weeks of parliamentary sitting.
Exactly.
So that's 14 parliamentary sitting days.
Exactly. So and that's not our normal.
No.
Yes.
So that's not a normal week.
Exactly.
It means that.
So that was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because they don't sit on Monday.
Yeah, but they've not today.
If they decide to do an emergency sitting, it will be counted as part.
So it will start today if they sit today. But if they don't sit today, it means that you can buy plane ticket and travel and come. Jerry can go to Wager and go and do. Okay, so I think this clarity is good. So the point I was trying to make about the minority is that, on the one hand, they are saying that what the speaker did was wrong. It was wrong in law. The procedure was not followed, and it is injustice. On the other hand, they are also saying that because of that decision of the speaker, the committee cannot work. So they are recusing themselves because they don't want to be part of an illegality, which is the continuous vetting of the nominees. I'm having difficulties marrying the two. If you say that the speaker's action is illegal, then why are you then using that illegality, the product of that illegality? You're saying that that product is also illegal.
But the speaker gave a number of directives. The suspension they are against, but the reconstitution of the committee defined a line in there that supports their cause.
So they are picking and choosing out of the gamut of rulings.
Exactly.
It's not everything they agree with. They agree with some and disagree with some.
So they are going with what works for them.
Isn't it surprising that we've seen appointment committee settings over the years? Isn't it surprising how this particular has been so acrimonious and being used as a platform to settle personal scores or personal, vendetta against each other? We've seen the Joe Osewusu appointment committee 2017 and then 2021. We've seen the previous appointment committee where Bagwin was the ranking member on the committee, Haruna and the rest. It was cool, level-headed, everything was agreed on. But this particular one has been the problem. And if care is not taken and we don't cure the mischief within this particular committee setting, it will continue. And I've said before that if the speaker does not reconstitute this committee or do something about it, the deputy ministerial vetting will be more chaotic than what we are seeing.
And that is why those riding on the back of common sense agree with the speaker in suspending these for cracking the whip. Because you see, the speaker had, not on one occasion, but I think twice or thrice, had a good cause to caution the committee on how it was running its affairs.
Yeah. I think a day or two before this particular incident, he told them in the house that, respect is earned and that he's received a number of reports about the conduct of the appointment committee and how they are managing their things, on that committee. And then just 2 days after, or I think a day after, you see what's happening. You see all the chaos in what's happening. And the surprising aspect for me is when Oliver Baka appeared before.
Yes. I think I've taken you through school.
That's why I said Oliver Baka. I didn't add appeared. The same Adon Dompe told us that his children have been asking him that, Daddy, do you take money before you vet people? And then a day or two after, the same Adon Dompe is seen on TV carrying chair. And when his child or his children ask him, what explanation will he give to his children as far as carrying that chair?
But we don't know what he explained to his children regarding that.
In my village school, when you close from school, you carry your chair and put it on top of the table in the way he did.
You turn it upside down.
I think that's on the table. As in Japan, and in their view, they have clothes. They are going home, so they are putting their chairs right. I think what happened was wrong. I don't understand why. You see, the last parliament should have been crazier than this particular one because it was 137 apiece.
Exactly.
And I expected to see stiffer competition. But then again, minority side was always allowed to have their way. What happened 2 nights ago, last Thursday night?
Yeah.
I think my view is, as NPP minority, you've decided that you will not do the thing again. In Parliament, when you say you won't do, you just walk out.
But we know we don't have the numbers. If we walk out, it is immaterial.
So
the majority can still do business.
So disrupt the whole process?
No, but that's
because
that's
we don't
wrong.
want the process to go on.
That's
That's
actually wrong. That's actually wrong. And whoever incited them, we should not just be the people we saw doing it. The law should go so far, because, and I'm happy that there's going to be criminal aspect of this particular issue. The one who incited them to do what they did should be questioned, because what they did was wrong. In Parliament, when you don't agree with what's happening, you walk out. And there are very tense moments where we have seen, back then when he was minority leader, Chairman when he was minority leader, they would get up on their feet, say everything they want, and say after that, we are leaving. There was a day that Ken Oforiatta was about to present a budget, and I think the minority at the time, the leader stood on, I think it was Haruna Idrisu, stood on their feet and said A, B, C, D, and then they walked out. Or was it a State of the Nation address? Mills, I think when Mills was going to deliver State of the Nation, and they walked out and they said they won't do it. So if you can do that, do that. But to say that we are young, I won't let you do the work, I thought that was very wrong. And Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin, being the lawyer that he is and all the experience he has, I didn't think that you have to stay there to force the people not to do the thing. If you thought that you were right, that there should be no vetting after 9 p.m. or after 10 p.m., if it was a law, let them breach the law, go and have the law dealt with, or let the courts deal with it and say that you breach the law, and then it becomes nullified. It's like the declaration of MPs elect in some constituencies, the mandamus application. When it was granted, it means that the declaration didn't happen. So if you thought that the continuous vetting that night was wrong in law, then go out and go and make sure that the law is enforced, so that whatever they do that night behind your back is an illegality. But to stay there and say you are forcefully going to prevent them from doing it, I thought that was wrong. And I'm saddened hearing Ahiafo saying that he looked right and left and there was no saving. I mean, how could you have no marshal around?
So there was nothing you could do but to allow what happened to happen. And
so he sat there quietly. He and the nominee, Akando. So they were looking at each other while people were doing the fighting. I thought that was very, very wrong. I thought that...
you think that if he... Because, I mean, by extension, that was a parliamentary sitting. If he, sitting there as chairman, also granted that he's the first deputy speaker, but at that sitting, he acts as speaker. If he had cracked the whip there, asked marshals to take out whoever had started whatever, it would not have escalated.
It wasn't going to matter to they will not even mind him.
But there were no marshals. The man said he looked left and right.
And even if there were marshals, they wouldn't have been.
Why would they
wouldn't have done
that? Why wouldn't
they? At that tense moment.
Committee chairman have the same power.
Yes, I agree. But at that tense moment,
when has had people arrested
when chairs were flying.
No, even
at that
before,
particular when people were pushing each other.
When the violence was being
I'm sure when the marshal even comes, they only push the marshal away somewhere.
He was in the thick of events. He was seated there. He would know and hear voices.
I think he didn't expect the thing to get to where it got to.
Then that's a failing on his part.
In fact,
the more reason why people accuse him of being a weak chairman.
For you,
no, the more reason why people. I'm not the one. I've had committee members.
You went to a secondary school.
I've seen committee members accusing him of being a weak leader. Yesterday, the MP for Wale, what's his name? Kabiru. He was publicly accusing him of being a weak leader in this matter.
He couldn't have gotten up to physically fight. I saw Agboja standing there with his arms behind his back. Agboja was whipped. He didn't do anything because he was minister for minister.
So I don't even know why he came to the committee sitting.
No, MPs can come.
He's still an MP.
For me, I'm saying that the minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, should take a lot of the blame for what happened that night. When you said that you were not going to sit, you should have led your people to go out. But for them to have stayed there, the devil finds job for idle hands. So they are not going to be part of the vetting, but they are there. So the devil said to Arnold in his ear, carry that chair and put it on the table.
Were you there?
No, the devil doesn't.
Were you there?
You know the voice of the devil.
You know the voice of the devil.
And when he did, Then the devil went to the other people and said, you to do the same thing. Your leader has done it, follow. And they also followed. And they started putting chairs on the table.
And someone went
then
to
another devil said, no, that's it. Then the devil went to one of them and said, you know what, the microphones, if you destroy them, they cannot do this work.
Right.
So let's start scattering the microphones. And then someone said, no. The devil said, no. Even the table that they are sitting around, if there's no table, there can be no problem. So let's scatter it. And then Jerry, please push the table, let's go. And then you saw what happened. I'm saying that
he comes to steal, to destroy, and to kill.
And he was happy. And I'm sure the devil was there clapping while the media was filming. The devil was clapping. My point is that Alexander Penyumakin should have led his troops out of that room. The fact that he remained there with his troops, he should take some of the blame for what happened as a leader. Ultimate responsibility. The buck stops with him.
Yeah.
And I think he should be held responsible to an extent. That when you said we are not saying, look at what happened the following morning. The following morning, and here foreign people decided that we are continuing with our work. So they came, sat there, started work. The next thing, after I have read the speech apologizing to Ghanaians and to Speaker and everybody, then Alexander Penyumakin leads his people into the committee room again. And we could hear shouts, but because the mics were off, we couldn't.
Yeah. It was inaudible.
It turns out they said that there was an agreement that we should suspend for 1 hour. We are going for some meeting, and then you are here behind our backs holding the meeting.
Which is what I was coming to, because we know that this is a practice in the house, that leadership meets backdoor.
They do pre-sitting
agree on a number of issues.
But I think you have made several accusations on this matter, that they agree on a matter that, you know, when they come in, things change.
Things change.
The chairman will change things, or members of the committee will change what they have agreed on. And so for them, because they are also under pressure, they must also act, so that at least they can also save themselves and their party. Apenya has said several times that he is under pressure. For now, he's the de facto leader of the MPP for now. And he's under pressure from...
Not chairman in team.
No, I mean he's a de facto. That's what I mean.
So chairman team is the job. Okay.
I'm using my words well. And there's pressure on him from the party leadership.
Actually, we saw Chairman Team standing next to him when he was addressing the press.
I mean, he supports him.
Yeah, with Kodua on his right.
What I would say is that if we were to even do fisticuffs and were to do 1:1, it looks like the majority is 2/3, right? If you add the other 4. Yeah. So it means that for every NPP MP, there are 2 MPs from the NDC side. Yeah. So imagine if that evening, when that standoff was happening, the NDC side has also called their people that come, let's do more fighting. That night was going to be a bloody one, and people may have been injured, and people may have been hurt. But in all of this, I think we should also celebrate Mahama Yarega, and he came in there, and he calmed tempers and he calmed nerves. I think they should do a lot more backroom work. Even with 137, we saw decency.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw decency. So what did the leaders, and funny enough, the leaders of 137 are the same leaders we have now. I mean, Penyumakin became leader of 137 at a latter part, right? Yeah. Atufosin was there until recently. I think they should be able to, the whips remain the same. Except Agboja has moved. We have Anodon Press still there. Yeah. Jerry is new, but Habib is there. Still there. If it comes to the NDC side, Doyo Ganza is still there. Yeah. And I think they have a new deputy whip, whom I'm not really sure. I don't know his name now. But I think if we manage 137, which was the slimmest ever we've had, we should be able to manage this one too. And I think a lot would be, so Speaker Bagbin has a lot to do as the father of the house. But again, the leadership, the minority leader, the majority leader, they should do a lot of meetings. We don't want to see these things. They are too ugly and they are not, it's a blot on our democracy.
If the current constitution of the appointment committee stands the way it is, Sana, we cannot avoid this thing. We may see a repetition. If the current committee is not, adjust, for want of a better word, to address the tension within the committee proper, we may see a repetition of this. The more reason why the last time I was proposing that, these friends of the committee, subject matter people, they shouldn't be added to the sitting.
Oh, why?
Even if they come, they should just come and observe and not ask questions.
Why not? For this, I do not agree with you. For this, I do not agree with you.
There's a reason why, there's a wisdom behind why certain individuals were selected to be members of the committee.
And same wisdom is behind why other members are allowed.
Is it that today you and Sada sandwiching me like that?
Not necessarily, but some of these points you are raising, I do not agree with you.
Let me make when I'm done with my point. You can disagree with me. I no problem with that. But let me make my point. If there is a wisdom behind the selection of 11 members of parliament to be members of the appointment committee, because they feel these people are well or good enough to ask the relevant questions and vet the nominees that appear before the committee. If you are a subject matter and you have any question you feel you can ask or you want to ask, give it to any members of the committee to ask on your behalf.
You may not necessarily be able to ask it to derive the
write
answer.
It for them. They can't read. They can't read when you write it for them.
That's your only chance to prove to your constituents that Ubo Ejuma or Parliament. Yeah. You have to be seen. You should not just
one of many options.
You should not just be seen to be working. It must be manifest that you are working, and that's how to manifest.
We saw subject matters appear before the committee and the nominees, and the questions, they ask yourself, really, you served as a former something in that particular ministry.
So, this is what I feel.
I feel we should do away with it and let only the committee members
restrict the questioning to the 11 members.
I watched the US, the Senate. Only committee members were asking, even though it was a full room. Other senators were there, but only committee members were asking questions. Only committee members.
The people are 5-5. If there are going to be 5 questions per each side, they all get. But if you bring experts, they get extra questions.
I don't think it's balanced as you put it. I don't think the committee membership is balanced as you put it.
It's 6-5.
No, it's 5-5. No, the chairman.
But we know where the chairman is.
Yeah, I'm just saying that.
So it's the 5. I would have to check because I know the 2/3 majority rule applies to even the selection.
So that's why it's 6-5. That's why it's 6-5. Or is it?
I think it's more.
But they are 11.
It should be a 7-4.
Rather.
That's my suspicion. But we will clarify that.
Who are the members of NPP on the side?
So you have the minority leader, his deputy,
Jerry.
There's Jerry.
Then
there's Anodom.
There's the MP who replaced Kofi Juma.
There's Buama as well.
Yeah, there's Patrick Buama and the MP who replaced
Patrick Buama, and then there's Patricia APJ.
So there are 5.
There are 5.
Yeah, there are 5. I think so.
Yes, but it's 7-4. There's 7-4. Others that come in at certain points are replacing either minority leader or the deputy, or replacing sitting in for the chief whip. The composition is 7-4.
Okay.
7 on the minority side, 4 on the 7 on the majority side, 4 on the minority side.
So the ones who come to replace, they are not in addition. Very well. I think.
Sit in 4.
But my issue is that if you bring the experts, you may get more questions from your side.
Exactly.
And I don't
give the questions to committee members to ask on your behalf.
But the experts are able to ask it in a way that the
committee members can ask those questions.
They are not technical people. They are not experts. They are not. That's why we have subject committee members.
And what contribution have they added to the committee?
They have been asking because they understand
the kind of questions they are asking.
A lot. We see the thoroughness with which some of them are. There was if you take for instance, was it finance? Atto Forsen. There was this. He's a new MP.
Is it Dr. Gideon Boako?
No, not Gideon Boako.
But he also came as
he also
committee experts.
And quite frankly,
he did a lot of the questioning too.
But there was I keep forgetting his name. His questions were shrouded in a way that it gives you solutions which are not your ordinary. I'll recall.
I don't think there's a problem with bringing other members. In fact, the rules allow for every member to come in and take part.
So
it's just a matter of voting that they will not be taking part in the voting.
Are you telling me these committee members can't ask the questions that subject matter members of
but that's the point we have said
so
to you.
Emmanuel Kofi Amabua, before his nomination, was a member of the committee. Apenyo Markin,
because then he was deputy majority leader,
and then Madame Patricia PJ, and then there's Agboja before he was nominated, and then Mahama Yariga, and then there's
let's start it. Yes, let's start it. Then let's get the numbers on either side.
Now, so chair
is Ahiyafo majority.
1. Emmanuel Kofi Amabua.
2.
Replaced now by Rickett Hagan.
Okay.
So say Rickett Hagan.
So Apenyo Markin still remains. Madame Patricia PJ, Gavins Kwame Agboja.
Replaced by By Dafiam
Mahama Yariga still sits on the committee.
Replacing.
And then now Mumu is there, and then Shaibu,
Omar? Is it Shaibu Omar?
There are two of them. There are two Shaibu.
There's a Shaibu Mahama.
Yes,
okay.
There's Shaibu Mahama. And then there's Shaibu Omar, the man who always wear. And then there's Patrick Boama, and then there's Arnold Dobre. These are the men and
women. So you're saying that this should be able to ask questions from archaeology to zoology?
And these are all experienced members of parliament.
No, Sammy.
But they are not, experts in all fields.
Sammy,
experts. And that is why it's important that we allow subject matter committee members to appear and also be able to ask questions of the nominees. When someone appeared and wasn't asked any question, we told her bye. You were not happy with it.
No, but they said because she's a widow. That's what Alexa Fenimaki has said.
Sanda.
She said that.
She said there was an agreement not to ask any question.
He spoke to GBC.
That is their agreement.
Yeah,
but we do not subscribe to that agreement.
He said she's not.
But yesterday she went through proper vetting.
But he said they didn't want to stress her.
Journalists asked their proper questions. She went through proper vetting.
No, but you see the problem with, so you see there are people who said that, okay, you people are saying that they have not asked her questions. Bring her to your studio and question her. But you see there's a difference. When the nominee comes to the studio and I ask her questions, she's not bound by it.
Exactly.
But if you go to Parliament and you swear an
You're under oath,
and you say that in 1 year I'll make Accra the cleanest city, we can hold you to it.
Yes.
And it will be up to the record.
Just like yesterday, she's saying that she wants to fix 70% of street lights in 50 days.
How can we test it? It's just a media interview.
After 50 days.
It's a media interview. You can't really hold her to it. But if we had gone to Parliament and they allowed her, and that explanation that the government side approached and said, oh, Charlie, this woman is stressed.
Right. We understand there's some happenings in Parliament as we speak. There's heightened security. This we believe is ahead of today's sitting because we know of the suspension of the 4 MPs and all that. Now, the minority again at it. Today they have appeared in the chamber in black and red. So we're going to put some B-rolls up. We'll go to Parliament and then speak to our correspondent near Ikwe Okai to give us some more on this. We're working to put him on the line. Once we get him, we'll put him on. And so yes, these are scenes from Parliament. You can see that the barricades have increased now. There's also heightened security presence. We understand this is to prevent the 4 suspended MPs from making exactly. So this is where MPs will actually enter the chamber. So this is the entrance. So yes, the lobby that you have seen the barricades there. And clearly,
isn't what we've been doing our interviews.
So just this thing to prevent the 4 MPs from entering the chamber.
Exactly. And that's why we are worried for Mr. Hiafo when he says that he looked behind him and couldn't find a marshal. Because
are we sure that that's why we have this barricade? Because
our correspondent
to be fair, when the speaker said that the 4 were suspended, they got out of the chamber. They didn't resist. So if they didn't resist at the time, I don't think they will.
And I'm not sure they will come to the house when they are on suspension.
I don't think this was brought for them. Maybe it's
enhanced security.
Maybe it's a police way of doing security because this is just so behind the doors you see the brown doors are the door to the chamber.
But you see, maybe when the announcement of the suspension was made, they accepted and walked out. But if you follow the commentary and the positioning of even their leadership after the announcement, it perhaps gives an indication of what is most likely to happen today. Maybe this is a stretch.
I'm not sure that Fiameto with all his experience. I'm not sure Arnold Dompré with all his experience in the house. I'm not sure Jerry and Gushe MP and the rest with all the experience and the exposure will want to come into the chamber.
Were you sure with all the experience they'll put chairs on tables and destroy tables? Were you sure with all the experience they'll hold each other's neck?
That I'm not sure and I wasn't sure.
Was the work of the devil.
But with the pronouncement of the speaker that don't come to the chamber you're on suspension, I'm not sure they will come there.
Sanders spoke about the voice of the devil and what they can do to you.
I'm not sure.
Do you know what
I'm not sure they will
for me, this place, so for those who may not have gone to Parliament or covered, this is where we typically, this is where I did my interview.
Do your interviews, yes.
Ordinarily, this is where we set up our makeshift studio.
So immediately they come out from the chamber, you grab them there and do the interview there.
And so I don't know why the barricade will come all the way here, because you see, there's a tunnel.
And there's too many of it.
There's a tunnel coming out of Job 600. That tunnel has a security check. There's a security post there. Then there is a main entrance where there is a security check. Then there's another entrance from the committee room area where there's also a security check. I think you could regulate it there. I don't think we should bring barricades inside here. I don't get the sense of bringing police barricades, police branded, because everybody who enters here would have entered because they gave them the clearance.
Exactly.
First of all, before you enter Parliament, there are 2 gates. There's a main gate opposite Conference Center. Then there's a back gate where the police station is. You cannot enter without a purpose. There are police people manning these places. In fact, the small gate there, that's where the police station itself is. And then the main gate, they have big gates and they can lock it. So if you go through that one, that's the first check. Then you come to the Parliament side. If you're going to the Speaker's place, there's a checkpoint there. You have to go through that. That's the Speaker's conference room or the Speaker's office. If you're going to Job 600, there's a scanning room. The doors are revolving metallic doors. You cannot just come and enter. That's if you're going to Job 600. If you're going to the committee room, there's a whole lot. Me, last week when I was entering the place, I didn't have my ID card. I had left it in the car. When I got there, the guy said, "Master, ID card." Luckily, I was working with Bernard Mona. His towel was like this because he's gotten a chieftaincy title. So they say, "Oh, honorable," and I followed him.
We'll continue that story. Let's speak to our parliamentary correspondent, Nia Ikwe Okai, on what is actually happening there to get a proper understanding. Thank you so much, Ni, for your time. We're seeing videos as you have sent us regarding all these barricades and all. Kindly help us understand exactly what is happening regarding all these new security measures or additional security measures.
Well, so for last week, the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, suspended 4 members of Parliament, 3 from the minority side, with 1 from the majority side, for their involvement in the violent confrontation that marred the Ministerial Veteran at the Appointments Committee last week. Now, due to this morning, there's been a heightened security. Sitting is expected to commence at 12 noon, but as it stands now, it is yet to start. We've seen members of the minority group here in their numbers, clad in black attire with red armbands, as well as some of the bands around their necks, just to protest this action taken by the Speaker, Alban Bagbin. There's also heightened security, police presence here, as well as barricades mounted at various points here in Parliament, just to ensure that these lawmakers who were suspended by the Speaker do not make their way into the chamber. So right here is the entrance of the chamber, parliamentary chamber, and these NPP MPs are trying to make their way into the chamber. But then the security here is also trying to ensure that they go in appropriately, but with such huge numbers, they have to go in accordingly. So they are just trying to ensure that we do not have any of those who were actually suspended amongst them. So that is the situation here. The NPP MPs clad in black attire with their red armbands and neckbands, just to protest against the Speaker's suspension of their colleagues. I have with me here the Member of Parliament for Old Tafo, Vincent Eko Asifo. I would engage him briefly on what exactly this action seeks to, achieve. Honorable, thanks for joining us on our special coverage of this whole ministerial vetting process. We know that last week Speaker suspended 3 of your colleagues, as well as 1 of the NDC MPs. Now, this one, we've seen that you are clad in black attire with red armbands and neck armbands. What exactly is the issue today?
The issue here is that we are resisting oppressors' rule. We are creating the awareness to the Ghanaian people that we have a constitutional supremacy. We have a democratic institution. In a democratic Ghana, we do not have a speakership supremacy. We have a constitution that is bigger and powerful and authoritative than any other law in this country. So the Speaker of Parliament cannot be seen to be relying on the subservient law to topple a constitutional provision. Cardinal of this constitution is the fact that there should be fair hearing as far as Article 19 is concerned. Now, fair hearing, inherent in the fair hearing, is the principle of natural justice, where you have to listen to the other side. We are not in any way supporting what happened. We do not. I condemn it in no certain terms. But I'm saying that even in the face of the wrongdoing, proper procedural approach should be adopted so that we know that indeed we are not in a banana state.
Now, your leadership yesterday ferried these concerns to the Speaker through a memo. Why don't you wait for the Speaker to preside today and then make any consequential orders to that effect rather than resorting to a protest today?
The Speaker of Parliament did not wait to listen to the members of Parliament. We have a lot of options to make sure that the right thing is done, and we are embarking on a number of options that will, as it were, ensure that the right thing is done. The right thing is to allow members of Parliament to represent the people who voted for them. There are thousands of people who voted us here. The anticipation is that we should be able to represent them here on the floor of Parliament, and no one should usurp the powers of these people and stop members from, as it were, going about its business. And so that is why we feel that we should protest for the Ghanaian people to know that what happened on Friday is a bad precedent that we are setting. It's a dark day in the history of this country. It's a dark day in our democratic dispensation. It should not have happened. It happened at a very wrong time, and we feel that what happened is wrong, and for that matter, we should make sure that the people of Ghana actually understands what is happening.
A committee has been set up to investigate this whole incident. Why don't you wait for the committee to commence its sitting, hear from those affected, and then probably an action could be taken than this action?
That the by the time that the committee will finish sitting, I'm sure that these people might have served their suspension term. So as I said, even on the floor of Parliament, we use the legal means. So it's fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much for speaking with us. So you heard Vincent Echo as if for sharing with us why the minority has today decided to wear black attire and also clad themselves with red armbands as well as neck bands to protest the Speaker's directive suspending their colleagues. I would want to try and then engage more of these MPs and find out what they also make. We've seen the First Deputy Minority Whip Habib Idrisu addressing the media. Let's listen to what he has to say.
It is a black day for our democracy if we allow this thing to start.
Finally, who expects your side to approve the ministerial nominees? The reports are ready.
Immediately after the Speaker gives an order, and then we walk out of the chamber. Any other person who was vetted, it is an illegality because the appointment committee under Order 217 was not properly constituted. It was not about quorum issue. It is about being properly constituted because the minority and the majority whip are mentioned in the standing orders to constitute the appointment committee before they come and say that any other member. If you read that standing order very well, it states the First Deputy Speaker being the chairman, the minority leader being the ranking member, the deputy majority leader being the vice chairman, the majority whip, the minority whip, and 5 other members. So we are not asking about quorum. We are talking about the committee being constituted. And Speaker himself agreed that the committee was not properly constituted. That's why in his directive he said that the selection committee must meet today to reconsider the appointment committee. By his action, he was convinced that the appointment committee was not properly constituted anymore. And you could see that day they rushed almost every other appointee to be vetted in that illegality. And we will not be part of it. When we get to the bridge, we'll cross the bar. For today, we are registering our displeasure on the suspension of our 3 colleagues. Thank you very much.
So you heard that the First Deputy Minority Whip, Habib Idrisu, speaking to journalists. Let me try and then engage more of these MPs. I've seen here with me Honorable Gloria Owusu. Honorable, you welcome to Channel 1 News. Today you are clad in black attire, so as your colleagues. What exactly is the issue?
We don't know what is happening here. We all know that today we are having sitting at 12 p.m. and we are here. You can see the doors are already closed. So we don't know what is happening.
Has any of the officials of the Marshal Department communicated to you?
No. Our leadership has not communicated anything to us. So we don't know what is happening here. And we don't know what the speaker wants to do. We are members of parliament. We are not criminals. People voted for us. So why are we treating like this?
What is the agenda on the floor of parliament today from your side?
I don't know. We don't have any agenda. What we knew is Speaker has suspended 3 of our members. So we don't know the agenda for today. We are coming to our normal sitting.
Thank you so much for speaking with us. So you heard Gloria Usu, who is the MP for Trobo, also speaking to us about why the minority has today decided to wear black attire and also clad themselves in red armbands in protest against the Speaker's directive suspending 3 of their colleagues, as well as the majority Chief Whip Roxanne Nelson Dafiameko.
Hello, Ni. We know that there are 2 main entrances, right, to the parliamentary building itself. The one facing the conference center and the one behind where you have the police post. Describe to us what these 2 entrances look like. I'm asking this because of the barricading we are seeing at the main entrance into the chamber. Is this the same level of security you are seeing at these main entrances or not?
Well, so Nana, as I was coming in this morning, I saw at the entrance, one close to the conference center, that there has been heavy security presence there as well. Barricades have been mounted there. And whenever you get there, there is a thorough check before you are allowed into the precinct of Parliament itself. What I was made to do was to roll down my glasses, the car glasses, to ensure that it is thoroughly checked before I made entry, and all other entrants to Parliament were also made to go through the same procedure. So it is a whole level of security here today just to ensure that there is order to prevent these MPs who have been suspended from making their way into the chamber. I have here with me the MP for Force Ayubi. Let's engage him also on this issue.
I'm black in solidarity with our brothers who the Speaker has purported to suspend for 2 weeks. And we have been on record to draw his attention that in line with the standing orders of Parliament, respectfully, the Speaker does not have the power to do that. Even the disciplinary processes, they are laid down rules, either of the 30 to 35 or 129, 130. What he has done is totally ultra-virus, and he doesn't have the powers to do that. And so in solidarity with our brothers, that's why you see us in black.
You've sent a memo through your leader.
That's correct. That is correct.
Is this an additional measure?
Which one?
I'm talking about you clad in black and red. Is it an additional measure?
It's complementary to that, yes.
Now, the vetting process, and somebody will argue that actions and reactions. What happened at the Appointments Committee shocked many people. Isn't that why the Speaker probably behaved the way he behaved?
When a man even steals and a judge is present, the judge cannot say because he is scandalized by the theft, he has picked a gun from his holster and has shot the man and killed him. He would have to have the man prosecuted, the threshold for conviction met, a conviction established, and even sentencing has to be done in accordance with the law. So we have not said that Mr. Speaker is unqualified to be angry or is unjustified in his anger. In fact, the committee apologized on Friday morning. What we have said is that Mr. Speaker's suo motu attempt to punish without recourse to the standing orders is what we respectfully disagree with. And when we get into the chamber today, that's what we want to draw his attention to. It's surprising that the marshals don't want to let us into the chamber.
Yeah, ordinarily, we shouldn't see you here in this number. But what is preventing you from going in?
The marshals say they are under instructions not to let us in. We are waiting. We've sent our leadership in to find out who's giving this instruction and why. We're waiting. 3 hours, 4 hours. We'll be here and we'll wait until they open us to go in. Parliament is a house of dialogue where we would have the opportunity to raise the issues and draw Mr. Speaker's attention to the standing orders. And that's the opportunity we are looking for.
You are a lawyer. many have argued that the standing orders of Parliament gives Speaker discretion
To do what?
to make decisions where those situations are not captured expressly in the standing order, and this might be one of them.
No. The standing orders have provided between Order 30 and 35. The standing orders have provided for what will happen in an instance like this. Order 129, Order 130, the standing orders have provided. So this is not an instance where the standing orders have not provided, and therefore Mr. Speaker is making up the rules. No, it's not one of those.
Now, the special committee has your members as well. Will your members partake in the business?
Our members have not participated. Again, the standing orders are clear on what it takes to set up an ad hoc committee. You would have to consult leadership, and leadership will nominate their members. You heard Mr. Speaker say that he himself has elected to put some people on the committee. Again, that is in flagrant disregard of the standing orders, and that's why we will not be able to comply with that.
Finally, from me, the appointments committee report, some of them we told already. Are we to expect a decision to be taken on some nominees through voting? You have experience in that.
We haven't seen the reports from the committee. When the committee brings the report of those that were vetted, we will exercise our minds to it. We do understand that some persons were vetted by the dissolved committee. We are not sure that that amounts to vetting when it gets there who addresses. I'll see you guys.
So you heard that the MP of Wase Ayaribi speaking to us, Kojo Oponkroma. Now the chamber has been opened for the MPs to make their way in, and we expect that once they come in, the members of the majority side would also make their way into the chamber. Speaker subsequently would come in to chair proceedings for today. So in as much as they have been allowed in, there is still that heavy security presence here just to ensure that we do not have the MPs who were suspended by the Speaker for 2 weeks making any entry into the chamber for today's proceedings, as well as for the rest of the days until the 2 weeks ultimatum given by the Speaker has elapsed.
Do you see any of the majority MPs present? Do you see any MPs on the NDC side present?
Nana, as it stands now, I haven't seen any of them here. Probably they could be in a caucus meeting. So we are hoping that now that the NPP MPs are making their way into the chamber very soon, they would also come in for sittings to commence for today, because Speaker announced last Friday that sitting would begin at 12 noon today. It's past 12 noon, and lawmakers are now making their way into the parliamentary chamber. Precisely, the NPP MPs are now making their way into the chamber as they are clad in their black attire as well as their red armbands in protest against the suspension of their colleagues. Nana.
What of the 4 currently on suspension? Have you seen any of them there?
Nana, I haven't cited Wage Agbawe MP Jerry Ahmed Shaib. I haven't seen him here today. I haven't seen Gushegu MP Alhassan Tampoli here today. I haven't seen Frank Anodompre Nsawam Aduajiri MP here today, as well as Roxanne Nelson Dafia Mepo, the majority chief whip, as well as the South Dai MP. None of them is currently here. We do not know if they would try making any entry yet, but like I indicated earlier, none of them is here at the moment, Nana.
Right, and this security checks or security arrangements at the entrance of the chamber itself, are the checks being done by the marshals or by these police officers who have been brought in?
Now, this check is being done by the police officers in collaboration with the marshals officials here in Parliament. So it is a joint exercise that is being done here. I have seen Honorable Isaac Adongo, that's a member of Parliament for Bolgatanga Central, also making his way into the chamber. He is a member of the majority group. So far, he's the only person that I have seen here at the moment. So just behind me is the marshal officials here in Parliament, making sure that everybody is thoroughly checked before they make their way into the chamber. And this has been done in collaboration with police officials who have been brought in to assist with security here in Parliament today.
These arrangements we are seeing at the entrance of the chamber, this is access for members of Parliament. Are there similar arrangements at the public gallery or the press gallery?
Well, at the press gallery, no. At the public gallery, no. There is nothing like that. But then before you make entry into Parliament itself, there is that heavy security check at the entrance, both at the Castle Road entrance as well as where we have the police post, where lawmakers as well as other entrants also make their way into Parliament through. So there is heavy security presence. We haven't seen this quite in a while. It's not quite normal to see this kind of security here, but today we are seeing it all in a bid to ensure that those that have been suspended, members of Parliament for that matter, who have been suspended due to the violent confrontation at the Appointments Committee, do not make their way here in the chamber today.
Well, a final one for you, Nii. I don't know if you have any indication yet as to what time the Speaker will make his way to the chamber for proceedings to start, based on his earlier announcement that the sitting will start today at 12 noon.
Well, as I indicated earlier, 12 noon was what the Speaker advertised, that it would be the commencement of sitting, but it's past 12 and then sitting hasn't started yet. So we are only hoping that any moment from now, either the Speaker himself or the First Deputy Speaker or even the Second Deputy Speaker would make a way into the chamber to preside for today's sitting to fall.
Right. Just a quick one, and by way of education. Ordinarily, what will a sitting, the first sitting of the week of the chamber of Parliament look like? I'm asking this because with all that the minority has said and their posturing and their addressing, it appears as though this will not be an ordinary sitting.
Well, so what we're expecting is that once the Speaker comes in, we'll see the national pledge being cited. Mostly it is done at the beginning of every week, and then a roll call will be conducted, as well as votes and proceedings, correction of votes and proceedings for the previous sitting would be done. And then if there is any formal communication by the Speaker, he will do so, and then we would also see that at the commencement of public business, the leadership of the majority side would now direct the Speaker as to how proceedings for today should go. But what we are expecting is that last week, those who were vetted at the Appointments Committee would have their reports submitted to the House by the Appointments Committee Chairman, that's Bernard Ahiafo, so that the House would debate on the report and subsequently approve them or otherwise. Already we've heard from some of the minority members who are saying that once the Speaker directed that vetting should be halted and then an engagement should be had with the Selection Committee to ensure that the Appointments Committee is reconstituted, they believe that whoever was vetted afterwards was done as a form of illegality, so they are not going to support that. So we'll wait to see how things will turn out in the House today. But once the report is presented by the Appointments Committee Chairman, Bernard Ahiafo, for a debate on it.
Well, thank you very much, Nii. But it appears the majority MPs are now coming in one after the other.
Exactly the case. So like I indicated earlier, we saw Isaac Adongo, who is an NDC MP and a member of the majority group, making his way, and there's been other MPs from the majority side as well, also making their way into the chamber. So we are hoping that, like I said earlier, the Speaker or any of his deputies would come in any moment from now, and then we see the proceedings for today take place. We'll go into the chamber and then see what is also happening in there.
Very well, Nii. Thank you so much. We'll come back to you as and when you are stationed to bring us some more updates regarding today's sitting of Parliament. We have seen the members of the minority side clad in black with red armbands and headbands, obviously in protest of the suspension of their colleagues. 3 of them, although there was a suspension of 4, one belonging to the majority side. Then, of course, I mean, the major highlight there is the heightened security measures, including the barricading of the main entrance into the chamber for members of Parliament. But guys, I mean, members of parliament and their ways and means, their strategies.
Already there's a committee of ways and means.
So you have already sent a memo to the speaker. You've registered your displeasure regarding the suspension. Is this protest, quote and unquote, necessary?
It is.
Protests are very necessary. Protests are very necessary, and the way they've done it is very, very parliamentary and it's very, very allowed. For me, I still don't just understand why we had to put barricades there. And now the people have entered.
Exactly. So what purpose did the barricades serve?
If the marshal said, those 4 MPs are not...
I did not see them.
They don't wear invisible clothes where they can pass through. I mean, again, even if you see, the thing is that inside the chamber of parliament, it is not only MPs who sit there. There are people who work in parliament who are there. Those who distribute answers and all those things. The marshals are standing there in the corners. Even the speaker has people. Even the clerks at table, they people sit in front of the speaker. All of those who are inside the chamber. But when it comes to parliament, the chairs are labeled. You cannot just go and sit anywhere. Your chair is labeled. When you switch on your mic, your name is shown up there. Your name is written on there. So it's just those 4 seats that we have to check. Is someone occupying those 4 seats? Even if he's occupying the seat, if the speaker doesn't recognize you as being in the chamber, you are not in there. So I actually, this for me, it looks like a much ado about nothing. About this whole police power inside parliament chamber. Why would we even allow police inside the chamber like this? I mean, and this is when I'm using chamber because this is just by the door of the chamber. If it was outside,
so this is Infashi Parliament.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So you are learning the Latin.
I know I'm learning the Latin. I have some business to conduct with the Latin.
It's very necessary. And you see where the police pickup is outside. They have barricades there. If you the video we are showing, the police barricade. If you have a barricade there, which they already have, I don't have a problem with it. Maybe you are trying to prevent like entering the committee room. But for the top there, I honestly didn't think that they should put this in there. And to have the MP stand there and wait for all this while, and then they've created the drama, the scene, they've got the media attention, then I open the door and say, okay, we'll do the So this place, if you have a barricade here, for instance, which is there, this is in between Job 600 and the parliamentary chamber, I have no problem with police people standing here to check. But then again, they'll be checking for people who are not part of the parliamentary system. Mind you, the fact that you suspended the 4 MPs from parliament does not mean they cannot go to Job 600, where their offices.
Exactly.
And there's a tunnel that connects Job 600 to the chamber. So just put a gate there and make sure that they don't go. I mean, you don't even need to put a gate. I don't think these people are going to forcibly...
Because there's existing security at the end of that tunnel.
I don't think they're going to forcibly enter the chamber that, hey, you have been suspended. If they would, they would have refused to walk out last week.
There was no need to bring this
I agree, but then again, we do not know what intel was picked up to inform this decision.
Intel, they didn't pick Intel that they were going to carry table. And they didn't pick Intel that they carry chairs.
The benefit of hindsight, we have now picked Intel to forestall a future occurrence.
Much ado about nothing. Really.
You
because
think so?
just 4 MPs, and you bring how many barricades? You can't even count the number.
It's like a demonstration.
And Parliament has, I think, 3 entrances. The tunnel, and then the one right opposite the state house, and then the one in between the Job 600. And in all these entrances, you have security men there, and they know these members of parliament.
And these are known people.
And they are known. So even before they even get to those entrances, the security men can stop them there. And I'm not sure the security men will allow them have access to the lobby and even at the entrance of the chamber. So you mount all these barricades.
For such an arrangement to happen, who authorizes it?
It's the marshal based on the speaker's directive. The speaker is like the landlord of parliament. And then the marshal is like the chief security. And usually marshals are retired colonels of the armed forces and all of those things. And they have then people under them who are also working in the marshal's department. And then there's a clerk also in there who are also doing maybe the clerical stuff.
I'm asking this because when the House was sitting at conference center, and when there was the issue about who is minority, who is majority and all, and we saw the presence of the military, the explanation that came with it was that it was at the behest of the speaker. And so if we are seeing this, it's the speaker. But then I'm wondering why the speaker would want to engage all of this just to prevent, if indeed that is the reasoning,
and the 4 MPs will not come there. They will not come there.
So, I mean, you can't be certain whether they will not come there. I'm just saying that even if they come there, it's inconsequential because if they are not recognizing, and in the chamber, The clerk can escort the
It's a house of records.
The marshal can escort them out. It should be very easy.
And I'm sure they will want to avoid that embarrassment.
If it was
they want to avoid such
if it was a demonstration that was going to happen in Parliament, then you can have all these things. People wanting to climb. Remember the former CPP guy, Ernesto Yeboah. If their kind of demonstration drop that chamber, that's what they do, and you put barricade inside. It will make sense to me because they want to come and demonstrate inside the press gallery or inside the public gallery. But this one, no. Now we have seen them after delaying them for a while. You've allowed them; they've entered. And so they are inside there, and it's like you've just created a scene. Unless they were not prevented from entering, and they are claiming they were prevented from entering.
Very well. I mean, there's so much we had wanted to do today to deal with the appointments committee, the vetting process. Today we are going to look at the vetting of Omane Boama for defense and Felix Kwachu Fosu, government communications. But we are almost running out of time. One major highlight, though, during the sitting of the appointments committee was the invitation extended to Baka Vomawo.
The man whose name Sami cannot mention.
He attended upon the committee. Let's bring you what the chairman said to Bernard Avle during that interview on the point of view regarding that session with Baka Vomawo, and then I can pick your thoughts briefly on that as well. So let's hear Bernard Ahiafo speaking to Bernard Avle regarding Baka Vomawo.
Speaker's comment was in relation to what happened when we invited Vomawo to appear before us.
Really?
Yes, but after I have gone to explain why I acted that way, I believe strongly that puts matters to rest.
As in, he was unhappy that there was disagreement over how you treated Vomawo and his lawyer?
No.
Or what?
Whatever happened is that we were going there to refer Vomawo strictly to Privileges Committee. However, I have received a call as a chairman of the committee from one of the lawyers of Vomawo saying that the invitation makes reference to two posts. One that says that NDC members demand money, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The client, Vomawo, was not responsible for it. But the one that says monies that are being paid to appointment committee members, will they also be subjected to oral?
Yeah.
That one. He is responsible for it. But if the committee is not happy about that particular comment, they are coming with the client to come and render an apology. Well, I tried finding out from them where the other one that they are denying knowledge was coming from. They say it was coming from a platform known as MPP Project Bureau. So, therefore, you cannot hold him technically responsible for those comments. And once he is ready to render apology to the very committee that he has offended, why refer him to Privileges?
I quote the speaker here. He says, even members themselves don't take the appointments committee seriously. I think we need to. But before we ask for our pound of flesh, respect is earned. Further, please, appointments committee, we have crafted rules on how the appointments committee should conduct the business of public hearings. That is the term used, public hearings of nominees of the president. I'm not too sure there's a reference to those rules in what I am witnessing myself. This is very damning. It's like you're supposed to hold public hearings. He doesn't think the members are acting as if they even understand the work they are supposed to do.
You see, what happened is that public hearing.
Which one?
The one that happened on Thursday.
No, this was 29th January.
Public hearing.
No, this is 29th January I'm referring to.
Yes.
So he's even complaining about your work before
If you look at the issue relating to Vomawo,
yeah,
it's like my friends from the opposing side had a premeditated mind. Because for me, once a decision is taken to render apology for what he was responsible, we only have to take the apology. But democratic dispensation, I can't take that particular decision and say that was all. So I open up to take one comment from both sides.
Yeah.
The comment should not be a way of trying to cross-examine the person, because assuming I have offended you and I appear before you to say that what I have done is not good, so I'm here to apologize to you, do you go into the merit of the matter? Do you really go into the merit of the matter?
So you think that was that was what the speaker was complaining about?
Yes.
I see.
You don't go into the merit of the matter. Do you understand? And one, it's unfortunate if a lawyer makes reference to his notes in order to defend a client. Why would you ask that the lawyer should table that communication?
Did you even need to stop the vetting to hear this matter of because people are written about everywhere?
Members are of the view that what is it that every parliamentary cycle, when appointment committees are put in place, the committee is tagged with a corruption.
So you agree with them to stop everything for the whole of Wednesday
what will happen
to hear Vemawa for 45 minutes?
The integrity of the members of parliament were at stake. So that integrity of the members of parliament must be cleared.
But do you have to stop the vetting to do that? Do you have to stop, if the vetting is that serious, do you have to stop the vetting for a whole day to establish in 1 hour whether, I mean, seriously?
Well, you see, when you ask somebody to appear before you and provide evidence to substantiate an issue, you can predict the length of time that the person will take.
All right, gentlemen, briefly, let me find out, was it even worth bringing back Avomawo before the committee? Sammy?
Yes. Yes, I feel so. Yes. It was important to have brought him before the committee to come and, substantiate the allegations he had made against the committee, because one too many times we've had series of allegations against the appointment committee, or not even the appointment committee, the parliament in general, and the institution. People have made a number of derogatory comments against the institution, and it was just right and proper that we set such an example. My thinking was that the appointment committee was going to make a very definite pronouncement on this particular gentleman because of the things that he said against the house. But it looks as if all the invitations before any committee of parliament has become appear, apologize, discharge, finito, you are done. Then it gives room for more people to say, it could silly things about the chamber, just come in there and come and apologize. Some years back, this radio presenter, Black Rasta, made similar comments and a number of things against the house. When he appeared before the house, he only apologized. And then that was
appeared before the privileges.
Yes, yes. He only came to apologize, lie down, apologize, and then that was it.
He came to lie down.
Oh yeah, kneeling down and
prostrate.
We saw it on TV. And then after the apology, they allowed him to go. If that is the case, then we can all say dirty things about them, appear before them with our lawyers, beg them for mercy and forgiveness, and then we'll go. I think they should set an example. And I thought they were going to use Oliver.
I don't know if they are clothed with that power.
They do.
They can. They have the same power. So they can. So
I'm sure they have the power of the High Court.
That would be the privileges committee. I don't know if the appointment committee has the same thing. I don't know.
That's why I'm asking the merit of inviting him to appear before.
Which is what Dafamokpo was raising. That he shouldn't be brought before the same committee. It's like, you see, there's this principle in law that says, do not be a judge in your own cause. So you are the one who has been affected, and yet you're also the one who is sitting in judgment.
Exactly.
Nemo Judas. Don't do that. I don't know why they did that, but there are more lawyers on that committee than, I'm not sure any lawyers have walked through it. I think like maybe more than 2/3 of the MPs that we saw, they are all lawyers. So possibly they thought that the law agreed with them. That's why they did what they did. But then it has to do with the sanctions. I don't know. They shouldn't have brought Vomawo. I don't think they should have brought him at all. I didn't think they should bring him, but you can take it.
And the fact that they brought Vomawo and it appeared that they were not united
in their fight against him.
You know that thing they say, when someone takes your clothes and run away, you shouldn't follow them or follow them.
They won't invite you in the first place.
I don't think they should have. See, Baka Oliver Vomawo, if you followed his work and his behavior and his utterances, I don't think you should bring him to the parliament the way they brought him. Because at the end of the day, he made them dirtier than cleaner when he left that place.
All right. Umaru Sanda Amadu, host of Eyewitness News, 97.3 City FM, host of Face to Face on Channel 1 Television, and of course my colleague in the newsroom, Sami Riafi. We've been looking at the work of the Appointments Committee and also parliamentary proceedings. We'll take a break here. We'll return when the House convenes, and then we'll bring you proceedings from the floor of the House. My name is Nanatu Boateng. Keep watching Channel 1 TV.